Welcome to the EQ Video Tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. As always, thank you for joining us for another terrific edition of this week's EQ Video Tip. Before we get started, let's jump into the rules and goals of EQ Video Tip. What's on tap for today? Well, we've got a great article from Greg McEwen who talks to us about accomplish what matters. Let's ask a simple question. Have you ever had a day where you're so focused on one thing but you get pulled in multiple directions that it becomes too hard to give that one thing that attention for what's essential and actually accomplish your goal? I know I have. It happens to everyone. We think we're ready, we think we're focused, and then all of a sudden something else comes up, sidetracks our day. Why does that happen? Well, there's actually some science behind it, believe it or not, because our motivation wears off every hour that we work. So we start working for an hour, then someone else calls us, or the TV, or the Slack channel, or email, or phone, or whatever it is, instant messaging. Something comes up and distracts us, and we become more susceptible to those distractions. What we're going to talk about is ways to reset our mind, reset our focus, and our motivation so we can re-engage with our goals throughout the day. Let's jump into the 3 tips. Tip number 1, list the most important things you need to do today. That sounds pretty simple, but believe it or not, there's so many things that are going on between our inbox, our instant messaging, our Slack, our phone, our social media, our LinkedIn, you name it, that we get distracted. There's meetings also, there are people that come by our desk, things happen within our family. But it's important to be strategic in your day and be intentional. Take 5 minutes, either at the beginning of the day or the end of the day prior. Write down the list of things that you want to accomplish. In doing so, you'll have different results and you'll have a way to actually measure yourself and keep yourself on track. So, rule number 1, list out the important things you need to do every day. Tip number 2, this is going to sound really simple. Make a little checkbox around each of those goals. So, for example, if your first goal of the day is knock out this project, put a little checkbox next to it so that you can check it off when that is actually complete. It sounds pretty simple, it may sound a little corny, but it's actually something that your mind will go back and look at and process throughout the day. It'll also help give you a chance to kind of look at it and say, this one has more priority than the next one, as well as how am I going to measure my progress. We'll talk about progress in the next tip. Tip number 3 and our last tip. It's all about the end of the day, reflecting and measuring the progress. When you look at that sheet, did you put 50 things on it when you really could only accomplish 10? Were you over-ambitious? Or maybe you were under-ambitious? Whatever it is, make sure you're taking a moment to reflect for 5 minutes to say, hey, I accomplished these things. Give yourself a sense of self-confidence, self-worth, that, hey, I'm self-aware, I did what I wanted to do. I accomplished my goals, and now we're on to the next thing. And also, hey, did I over-anticipate what I could get done in a day? This will help you be more strategic and more inclined to take the projects that make sense and understand how much risk during a day you can and cannot take. In doing so, you'll end up accomplishing more, understanding your goals, understanding where you can be within a certain day and a certain time period of the day in terms of accomplishing what you need to do. So take a moment, make sure you reflect at the end of the day. Again, don't be hard on yourself. Give yourself credit for everything that you've done, but also reflect and say, here's what I could do better, and here's where I took on more than I could chew. That will help you out. That's a wrap for this week's EQ Video Tip. Hopefully you found these tips to help manage your day and accomplish what you want to do. Very important and very informative in terms of what you're looking for. Take a moment, take these tips, make them yours, and of course, hopefully grow your EQ. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.